Hello, everybody. Hello, this is Diego Molano. I am a citizen of the world, but I'm based today in Santa Marta, in Colombia, on the Colombian Caribbean. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining to talk about Latin America. What is happening in this region of the world, a developing region with a lot of activity in the entrepreneurial ecosystems. Today, we're going to have the ministerial roundtable with some ministers and high-level officials of the region so that we can have a debate on the opportunities for entrepreneurs in the region. First of all, we have Salma Jalife. She is the Secretary of Telecommunications and New Technologies of Mexico. Salma, welcome. How are you today?
Fine, thanks, Diego. Hello, everybody.
Tell me a secret that you haven't told anyone about Mexico.
A secret? Well, Mexico is too close to the US and too far from God. That's a secret. No, I'm just kidding. Well, we've been doing a lot of work with this administration, trying to lower the digital divide that we have in telecommunications and broadcasting. So we're doing a good job now.
Great. Thank you, Salma, for joining us today. And we have also Germán from Colombia. Germán Rueda, he is the Deputy Minister for the Digital Economy. Germán, you are very young. You know, it looks like Colombian officials are young. How come Colombia has a digital economy vice minister? What do you do?
So I think it's part of the intent and vision from all of our leaders to prepare the country for what we're living, for our fourth industrial revolution. And as part of the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, we have a huge task of helping across sectors. Once we have the connectivity, what are we going to do with it? So we have a responsibility and a duty with our citizens on a lot of our training programs, with companies, with the private sector, in developing and promoting entrepreneurship and digital transformation, giving them the tools. And from the government perspective, really helping drive at the national and at the local level all of the entities' capability development to better serve our citizens. So it's short answer to a lot of work that we're doing in Colombia. And by the way, I didn't say hello, but Diego, it's great to see you again. And Salma, pleasure to see you as well. And I want to say hello, everybody at Campus Party who's joining us today from, I guess, all over the world. This is very exciting. Thank you for having me.
That's great. And we also have Marco Midense from Honduras. Marco, welcome to Campus Party, to the Global Edition. We are not seeing you. Now here you are. Marco, welcome. Marco is the Minister of the Presidency and also the Minister of Innovation. Marco, how come your government has innovation at the highest level in the government? What is happening in Honduras?
Well, first of all, Diego, thanks for having us here. Very happy to be sharing this with the world. Well, Honduras has, as all the countries in the world, the need to change, right? And this pandemic gave us not only the sense of urgency, but the need to tackle the digital gap, but also to bring on the talent, the experience, and the possibilities of imagining a new world. We are almost reaching 200 years, the bicentenary in the next year, 2021. So we are thinking as well as a changing paradigm. How can we change the mindset of the Hondurans and think of this not as a crisis, but thinking of the etymology of crisis, what it means a divide. It means the opportunity to make decisions and thinking ahead of the Honduras that we want in the 21st century. As Germán said, the Honduras of the new economy, of the fourth industrial revolution, of the second machine age. So the president and the government has a vision where we try to tackle these problems, but also think ahead. So Great. 6 weeks ago, we started this office, and we are very excited to be moving forward. Thank you.
That's great, Marco. Thank you so much for joining us today. So Latin America is really changing in terms of the use of technology and also the number of startups. The ecosystems are growing. all over the region, from Mexico to Argentina. So we have now around 21 unicorns from Latin America. However, I have to say that valuations with the pandemic are changing. You know, some ones are growing dramatically, but some ones are falling behind. But anyways, let's say that before the pandemic, we had 21 unicorns out of around 300 in the world. So, but the issue is that 17 of these new unicorns were founded between 2017 and 2019. So it looks like we are like the pandemic, growing now. It's like growing exponentially, and that's the very good news. And that's and the reason for that is comes from different areas. One of them that I want to start with is connectivity. You know, traditionally, Latin America was falling behind in terms of connectivity. But today, about 70% of Latin Americans are connected to the internet. So we are closing that gap. Salma, what is Mexico doing in that front? You know, giving opportunities to people to be connected, giving tools to people to be successful in the digital economy because they have an internet connection, even people in rural areas and poor neighborhoods.
Well, we have been doing something different from connectivity only. We've been inserting a new idea, which is not only providing the connectivity, but also giving them the capabilities or the abilities to build their skills on a digital transformation. And this is really relevant because we found out, we have a questionnaire that we do every year, and we found out that even though we had a penetration in urban and rural areas, we didn't have enough people connecting to the internet. So we decided to do things differently. We are starting a new process which has to do with building a general framework of knowledge, where we have 3 stages. The basic skills for connectivity, knowing your equipment, knowing about cybersecurity, what is the risks getting into the internet, and also other 2 levels which have to do with intermediate knowledge on basic software design, and perhaps in certain skills we also use hardware design. And then we have the 3rd level, which is the professional level, where you can become an ICT expert. So we've been connecting not only the cities, but also giving an additional value to the people, which is getting skills in the digital world.
That's great. That's fantastic. So you're closing the different gaps, the infrastructure gap, but also the skills gap. And we're going to talk about that more in detail later. Germán, Colombia is a quite complex country, as Mexico is in terms of size. The size of Colombia is, the size of France, Spain, and Portugal combined. A large country with a lot of geography issues. What is the country doing to connect people, to close those gaps?
So in Colombia, we have, as you said, a lot of geographical challenges. We're very diverse, but we have from the ministry, and not just from ICT, but it's across sector, cross government effort to try to reach through all of the regions, in particular with technology. We're connecting with regards specifically to your question on connectivity. We're trying to reach to 75% of the households connected throughout the country. And we begin by providing free local access and it's been critical in these past few months with what we've been experiencing and living. We've accelerated the deployment of those shared Wi-Fi spaces in community centers, in educational centers, because it's been critical. And from the government, we've made a huge effort to put information at the fingertips of all citizens. So as part of the digital strategy, yes, we're coming with connectivity, but we're also coming with information. And as Salma was saying, from the ministry, we have programs to help close those gaps on multiple fronts. And in particular, from the Vice Ministry of Digital Economy, we have programs aimed towards giving people the skills, the gaps. So we're reaching regions that have never been connected before. And we have programs aimed at children, at their parents, at educators, at caretakers, because with connectivity comes a lot of like new risks and new challenges as well as opportunities. So working with everybody, with all of our actors, to teach them when they're first coming together in contact with this connection, but also for those that are more, let's say, mature in the road towards digital literacy, programs to learn new skills, for starting new businesses. So we have a lot of programs aimed at entrepreneurship. We have a lot of programs also aimed from the government to government officials. So we have like weekly sessions, chats, where we look to connect and train and coach. And it's a cross-sector, cross-government effort to try to reach all of these people throughout the entire country.
Great, great. Marco, Honduras doesn't have the extension of Mexico or Colombia, but it has other challenges. And also you share the same challenge with all those countries, which is inequality. How come you make sure that people with low income, they also have access to high-speed networks?
Okay, thank you, Diego. Very interesting question. At the bedrock of our national strategy is the National Broadband Plan. For the past 10 years, we've experienced a lot of challenges on that front. We have almost 38 to 40% of connectivity in all across Honduras. 5 or 6 years ago, when we started looking at the first efforts of the digital agenda, we came to connect 1/6 of schools and all the municipalities as well in the plaza, and 500 community centers. And that was our first approach for us to reach where the market doesn't reach, right? Where the telecom operators don't necessarily go. And that was our first effort, and we increased approximately 5 to 6% of the connectivity, and of course tackled the digital gap. From 2016, in the second mandate of the president, we are working on a more comprehensive, broader plan. We are working very closely with the telecom regulator, which has the mandate of the broadband and infrastructure rollover. And right now, in 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to launch the new national broadband plan, and we are trying to reach and divide the country in 3 areas. Of course, we're not looking at the 2 largest cities, Tegucigalpa, the capital, and San Pedro Sula, but we're looking at the western and eastern side of the countries where there's a lot of need, and basically there's no infrastructure at the moment. So we plan to really divide the country to promote the participation of local companies as well as international ones that might want to enter into this market, and try to really reach where we have a lot of digital divide. We are not right now focusing, Diego, on a flagship program which focuses on how can we bring a kind of digital bonus. That's the way that we're framing that in Bono Digital in Spanish, where we reach schools and community centers so that parents and children can access, and teachers, of course, in the educational ecosystem with technological tools and engagement for them as well.
That's great. That's fantastic. So as you can see, our audience can see, Latin America is already connected. We have plenty of fiber submarine cables around the region. We have fiber optics, backbones of fiber optics that connect cities and municipalities. And as you can see, many programs connecting even rural areas. I'm right now in the Colombian Caribbean, in a beautiful park called the Tayrona Park, which is a natural park. We have fiber here, so we have very good connection. We do have problems, electricity problems, I have to say that, but not connectivity. We have electricity issues, but not connectivity. That's a challenge also in many other countries. But Salma was explaining very good that this is not about connecting people. This is about making people use technology in the right way. Last year, we conducted a poll on how people use technology in the region and around the world. And then we found out that in most countries in Latin America, more than 80% of people were already connected to the internet, but 80% of those connected used internet only as a basic communication tool or for entertainment. So very few people were using internet as a tool to increase productivity. This with the pandemics has changed dramatically. Before the pandemics, just in average in cities, just 4% of people were teleworking. Now 25% of people are teleworking. So we are changing the way we use technology. Salma, what is happening in Mexico is basically, are people using technology for education, for financing, for banking services, for health, for other services? What is happening in the day-by-day life of Mexicans using technology?
Let me tell you, Diego, that definitely the pandemic is telling us that telecommunications and broadcasting are here as surveillance, as a survival tools. We definitely know now that we cannot live without technology. So Mexico moved from the institutional places where we used to have the technology and the connectivity to our homes. And we were not really prepared to use technology in our homes. But we found out that networks, competitive networks in our country were really resilient and very good at facing this challenge and these changes. But we need to, what we learn is that we need to make a basic technological change in order to introduce or to establish as a permanent way of living the home office and the teleeducation, telehealth, and so on, because what we've been seeing here is, for example, the gap of connectivity of those who have access to internet and those who don't. In the case of Mexico, we have around 80 million people that has access to connectivity, but we still have 34 million that do not have it. And there's an additional challenge that we have to face, the challenge of accessibility. Even though in urban areas, even though we have access, there are people that cannot pay for the connection. So we need also to do some changes in the way we provide services as a fundamental service or right that we have in our constitution. So what we've been doing is we've been working with the education sector, we've been working with the health sector in order to understand how their digital transformation needs to take place. And we also have been focusing our policies in trying to address in a quick way to get to those places where we don't have connectivity right now. But in the end, I have to tell you, we are working on a hybrid way of building our new future, and that is we will have presence in our institutions where we work or where we are educated, but we will also be intensively using home office and teleeducation and telehealth.
That's great. Mexico is a very, very large country with more than 130 million inhabitants. So people are massively using technology. Colombia is a country with around 50 million people. Germán, what is happening in terms of the use of technology? What is happening in terms of the usage for health, for education, for financing, for financial services, so on and so forth?
So in Colombia, I think over the course of the pandemic, as in many parts of the world, we've seen in weeks digital transformation that we expected in years. And just to give you an example, on the health front, in the month of March, we had about 80,000 telehealth consults. April and May, 1.5 million. So if we stop and think about that jump, I mean, that's unimaginable. If we had planned for this, it would have never happened. So the pandemic has pushed us as a country to learn how to use technology, how to use these tools, how to adapt. Maybe it's not perfect yet, but I think companies across sectors, I mean, health has responded. We've been fortunate as a country that President Duque had a vision from the start to position Colombia to transform it digitally. And in our national development plan, and for those of you who are not familiar, it's kind of like a strategic plan for government. For the first time, we had a chapter on digital transformation. And what that means is it's mandated and moved us towards regulating and not just dictating policy, but creating the projects that come with it to make that digital transformation a reality. So as a result of that, we've been working, and this is an area of collaboration we've had with Diego. Health record interoperability is a priority, and we've been working on that. And along that was the changes we had in the resolution for telehealth that I think enabled us to give this jump specifically on that front, but also on education. As part of the pandemic, in collaboration, not just the Ministry of ICT, but with the Ministry of Education, with our innovation agency, Impulsa, with our Ministry of Commerce, a lot of actors came together and we set up a platform, Aprender Digital, digital learning, where we loaded more than 80,000 unique pieces of content, and we've had used over 21 million times in the past 3 months. So even though we have, we have not reached 100% of the country, the response from people at all across ages has been great. On the innovation and entrepreneurial side, I think we've seen a lot of people going to technology to create new business models, to reinvent themselves, to connect with new audiences, to make use of technology like they have never done before. And there's, I think, spiked interest in a lot of different areas. From the government side, we've seen an uptick in how the local authorities are interested in accelerating their digital transformation. And as the Ministry of ICT, we issue standards that we're pushing forward to really drive that adoption.
That's great, Germán. That's great. Marco, Honduras is not as large as Mexico or Colombia, with only around 10 million inhabitants. And what is happening in terms of the use of technology? How are people using technology in Honduras nowadays?
I just want to give you a quick data. We had a meeting with the president a couple of days ago, and we had a report. In the presidency, just the presidency, with one platform, since the pandemic, in March, we've had 955 virtual meetings, more than 9,000 participants between the different platforms we use. So telecommuting is something that is very innovative here. The day after the first shutdown that we decreed, we gave a directive for all the government to start remote work. And work from home has been something that we have adopted as well in large parts of the industry and the SMEs as well. And I just received another data that more than 2,000 companies, 1,000 in general, have applied to our digital platform called Empresa en Línea, where you can literally go to the website and create your company in less than 1 hour. We have a lot of breakthroughs also in the ICT, or the incipient digital economy. A lot of people have started inventing themselves in the business. We've created we created a guarantee fund in order to promote the creation of several SMEs focused on new channels through the social networks and through our national entrepreneurship service, where we also launched the first virtual fair in Central America. More than 300 people.
Marco, let's then start with that. Let's move to that topic, entrepreneurship. Now that you're starting to mention it, it's like a few months ago, I conducted a study for the Wilson Center for the think tank in the U.S. About entrepreneurship in Latin America. We analyzed the different ecosystems, and the first thing we found is that young Latin Americans have a dream, and the dream is becoming entrepreneurs. In every single country, more than 50% of the young people of those countries, they want to be entrepreneurs. In some countries, they go up to 70%. In some countries, just 51, 52%. But most of the young Latin Americans, their dream is to become entrepreneurs. So, Marco, let me now that you were talking about that, what is happening in Honduras to help those young people to make that dream true?
Okay, that's Diego. You hit it right on the spot. That's something that we're very passionate about. Some years ago, when I was studying, I read something that was at the policy level. Entrepreneurship is a better or the core.
I'm having issues with Marco. I don't know if Germán and Salma. Marco, you
hear me? I lost you a little bit, Diego.
Let me jump to Salma.
Yes, maybe you can shut your video so we can listen to your voice. Yes.
Yeah, is this better? Sorry, we have problems. Sorry, Murphy's Law. Okay. So I was talking that you hit a very sweet spot. That's something that we're very passionate about. You know that Honduras has 70% of our population is young, under the age of 30, right? We're a very young country. And we've studied the policies, and we think that promoting entrepreneurship should be one of the bedrocks as well as development. So recently, 1 year ago, we created the National Service for Entrepreneurship, which encompasses all the national programs that we have and has a mandate to promote technical assistance, access to credit, and promotion of small and medium enterprises. 70% of our jobs in Honduras are conducted through these SMEs, right, in the market. So we've established a series of tools for the opening of markets and even e-commerce now. And proof of this is that the website that I was mentioning we have called miempresaenlinea.org, my company.org, let's say it in English, where thousands of Hondurans simply access the website and create their company. Not only they create their company now, but we're also promoting support for them to have their digital channels. And recently we created the e-wallet as well for them to have payment and the sufficient capacity to enter market and energize the economy. More or less $80 million is what we envision as part of the technical assistance and access to credit And we recently created a huge guarantee fund to promote SMEs, specifically to promote SMEs. And 80% of these SMEs, which gets basically a line of credit of $15,000 to start in average, we have guaranteed them as much as 90% of the credit. So that's the one way that we're pushing forward. That's a huge incentive.
So,
yes,
and Marco, so if I move to Honduras, then and I start a company there, I can get a loan and I can get direct help from the government.
Yes.
For $15,000. That's a lot of money for a startup.
No, and not that, Diego. Well, wait, we were very creative with this. So it's a scale, right? If you go up to $15,000, your collateral is going to be guaranteed by the government, backed by the government in 90%. And then if you go to $20,000 or $25,000, we go to 85%. And so on until you can get a loan of $1.2 million, and we get up to a collateral of 65% from government. So that is a huge thing, right? That's more or less
quite interesting.
$1.2 billion that we can give access to different entrepreneurs in the financial system. That's one thing. And then the other thing is that we created in 2018, and I was one of the people who have the precedent with this in the policy making, where we went to Congress and we created this 5-year incentive law for SMEs. You don't have to pay. If you start your company in Honduras, right? You don't pay taxes, you don't pay income tax, you don't pay municipal tax, and whenever you have your certificate of incorporation, you also get your permit to operate and your tax document and all the municipal permits. And that's a 5-year time for you to promote, to grow, and you don't have to pay any taxes. So that was one of the regulations or the legislations that we enacted in order to promote growth through the SMEs. And then during the pandemic, we came up with this SMEs where we've allocated, we have the space to loan up to $1.2 billion and this gradual scale of collateral backing from government. So this is something huge. I lost you guys.
I think Diego froze, but while he reconnects, that's very interesting, Marco. I think we got him back. Diego's back.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm back. Okay, great,
yes.
Great. I'm sorry, I have this backup connection. Thank you so much.
I lost audio.
Okay, so now we see everybody. So Salma, I went to Guadalajara last year for campus party, and the year before. I went to Mexico City before the pandemics. I've been to Mexico several times, and I'm really, really excited to see the activities in Mexico. Young people starting companies, a lot of products, a lot of VC money locally. A lot of programs in universities, many universities involved in the ecosystem. So yes. What is really happening in Mexico to promote entrepreneurship?
Well, we have been doing a lot of work, and I am going to give you some examples. In Mexico, the Ministry of Economy has made support for young entrepreneurs as one of its top priorities. So through its unit of productive development, it operates the National Entrepreneurship Fund, which offers endorsement for young people and women. We also are working really hard on gender inclusion when they apply for loans in preferential conditions within the commercial banking circuit. So this program considers many industrial and commercial activities. Software development is among those activities that they promote the most. So that's why you see clusters throughout the nation that are related. For example, in Guadalajara, you went to Guadalajara. In Guadalajara, we have the electronics and digital clusters, but we also have a very important aerospatial cluster throughout the nation, where we are also building skills and capacity for youngs to become young industrial and commercial developers. This program that I told you also offers professional advice and training in areas such as administration, sales, finance, processes, social inclusion, and environmental awareness. So it's a very complete program that the Ministry of Economics has, and it aims to enhance business capabilities and the know-how for women and young entrepreneurs, especially if they live in remote and areas and have no access to financial resources. That is why we are also not only promoting youngsters, but also trying to get the rural areas to become part of these activities. Other government institutions have also developed special programs to support youngsters. There's a National Development Bank, Nacional Financiera, that operates another program, which is Young Entrepreneurs, aim to strengthen entrepreneurial culture among the population and take an active role in consolidating new businesses led by young people. This program also includes consulting, training, and technical assistance. Through this program, the entrepreneurs can access low-interest loans from 300,000 to 2.5 million pesos, depending on the industrial activity they get into. And I'm talking about
how much is that in dollars? How much?
One peso is 23. 23 pesos is $1. So it should be around 2.5 million. $100,000.
Okay.
The academia has, as you mentioned, Diego, the academia also took an active role in supporting young entrepreneurship, and they are aware of the need that the students have in starting their new businesses. For example, the National University, the National Autonomous University, the largest university in Latin America, has a faculty, the Faculty of Administration and Accounting, created a specific program which is called a specific center, which is called the National Center for Support for the Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise. And this initiative helps interested entrepreneurs in different ways. They can get advice and training in business courses, and may also have access to several incubation and accelerations options for the new businesses. And as these examples that I have told you, there are many that have come to the public and private sectors in order for young people to become young industrial and commercial people.
That's great. That's great. So it was really tempting.
Yeah.
That's like Mexico's a good place. A lot of incentives from the government.
Yes.
A lot of things happening to start up different businesses in Mexico. That's great. Germán, Colombia is also moving. You know, we had 2 years ago the first unicorn, Rapid, that is already in 9 countries, and we have many others lining up to become unicorns. What is happening in Colombia, and what are the incentives for young entrepreneurs to be based in Colombia?
So I think in Colombia, we have a very entrepreneurial culture that's, I think, accurately reflected in that study. And people from more from the promotion perspective, what we've been working on is in giving free access to a lot of the tools and mentorships. And I'm just going to give one of several examples. This is specifically from the Ministry of ICT, and it's a program called apps.co. And we're basically giving entrepreneurs the tools. From the moment you have an idea, we have the programs in place to help young people or anybody really who has the idea to come to a group of experts. We set it up with mentors. We give them access to the technology, to co-working spaces, to the networks where they can access capital, and they can validate the products. So we have the connection, and we're building, I think it's strengthening with the appearance of companies like Rappi and many others that we've seen really are exploding in a lot of the different fronts. We're building that ecosystem because it takes not just the ideas and creating the business model, but also development of the other actors. How do we adapt solutions to our particular cultural needs? We have a lot of I think development from the venture capital perspective. I think we have investors that have traditionally leaned towards more typical, more secure investments, but I think we've seen a development in riskier, on the entrepreneurial side, on the venture side. So we've seen groups pop up to promote that type of these types of companies that we're seeing that are technologically based, but it's taken a lot of collaboration from different actors. In Colombia, we have the fortune that several entities work towards this. We have a national innovation agency that promotes entrepreneurship. And for instance, and I think as part of Campus Party, and we're gonna see it today at 5, we have the World Entrepreneurship finals, and we have a lot of creativity, and I think it's taken collaboration from the academic side, from the private sector, but we're seeing developments. Colombian startups, one's called, for example, KiwiBot, and through robotics, they're taking care of the last mile in deliveries, and they're working not just in Colombia but in California. We have use of artificial intelligence in our coffee growing region to optimize production. We're seeing solutions to take these new technologies, and we're seeing the evolution of sandboxes. And from the government side, we're observing and working closely with an agency in Medellin called Ruta N, and in partnership with a private company, they're developing a sandbox for X-Road. And X-Road's the technology for interoperability from Estonia that we've adapted, and we've been working on the government side for this past year to adapt it to Colombia. And we're working on 38 digital services from the government side that I think are contributing to this entrepreneurial ecosystem, because we're shortening times for companies, for citizens to do what they need to do. So we have from not just like the talent development, but we're putting capital and free access to these tools. We're working with academia, with the private sector, with gremios. I forgot how to translate that word, but what's that?
Industry associations.
Thank you. With industry associations, because it really it takes a lot of people coming together to be able to see these unicorns. And we're planting the seeds from the talent development. And just to share a couple more things. Last year, one new initiative, Coding for Kids. So from an early age, last year we were able to train, quote unquote, but to go through this program with more than 20,000 kids. This year it's going to be more than 100,000. And we're working on all the different age groups and developing the knowledge to be able to let entrepreneurship flourish and have more success stories. So
that's
really
great news. Great news. So there is a lot of help from governments for entrepreneurs. Recently, Babson College published the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, the GEM, just a few weeks ago. And it is so interesting to see how the perception of entrepreneurs has changed in Latin America. And there is one of the numbers they have. It is how society perceives entrepreneurs. It is a very technical number. It's a high technical number, but let me put that in an example that may apply to Salma. Salma, this is a kind of index that measures how happy, how admired entrepreneurs are locally. So it is. I put it in my in-laws example. Is how happy. So Salma, you have a daughter, and then what happens if she comes home with a new boyfriend? And she says to you, and especially to your husband, hey, mom, dad, this is my new boyfriend. And your husband asks, hey, guy, what do you do? And he said, I am an entrepreneur. So this index measures how happy the father is.
He should be very happy.
And then, what is interesting is that 20 years ago, most parents were not happy at all.
No,
And
I know.
today, more than 50% are happy. So
Yes.
it seems that the image of being an entrepreneur, because in the past, those fathers wanted their kids to be employees of a big multinational or an employee of the big multinational. Now, it is the entrepreneurs are being admired. So, Salma, if I am right now in Europe, in the US, in Asia, and we have many people from those areas watching us today, why they should come to Mexico to invest in the fintech ecosystems or the health tech or the ed tech or any of the ecosystems that are maturing rapidly in Mexico?
We have built a secure environment, and it is really relevant. Let me tell you a little bit about the Fintechs ecosystem, for example. On March 18, 2018, the Mexican Congress approved a fintech law. This was very premature to all other fintech laws in the world, and this was a unique legislation that was inserted in the financial Mexican market to introduce us to the Industrial Revolution. In the opinion of the Fintech Association of Mexico, this law allows Mexico to move forward with the use of technology and take down its lag in financial inclusion. We've seen in the pandemic, we've seen that a lot of companies, particularly medium and small size enterprises, turned from being companies doing their commercial exchanges in presence to becoming part of the digital world. And this was done really fast, and it was relevant to have the proper legal environment to do so. We have a lot of tools that have been put in place by the government, but also by the industry. And I believe that the importance of to be part of Mexico is that now we are working together. We understood the importance of having a collaboration between the industry and the government, and also with the academia, in order to build capacity on people being able to consult or train medium and small enterprises, but also the government to evolve in order to provide digital processes, digital information in a very fast way, and also the industry to understand the benefits of becoming part of a certain region, because there was a growth in the development of clusters, industrial clusters in certain areas of Mexico.
That's quite good. Huh?
Yes,
that's quite good. But
we've been working on that. Yeah.
Salman, what about this new agreement between Mexico and the US and Canada?
Well,
You know, this week we had President AMLO, Manuel López Obrador, in Washington, D.C. This is the first trip of the current Mexican president to outside of Mexico, actually.
yes.
So the first trip to the U.S. So this is a big issue. Is that a positive deal for entrepreneurs?
Yes, very positive, because then the arena where they can work, or where they can establish their entrepreneurship, is expanded to a larger market. So this is really relevant. We have been harmonizing the rules between the three countries in order to have what we have in Mexico. We could use it in the US or in Canada. And this is really relevant because it gives you an opportunity to become part of the value chains of any industry, or become an industry by yourself in a very large market. And as you know, this market is a highly technological market, at least in the US and Canada markets. But Mexico is also pushing forward really fast in the industry, as I told you.
Great. Thank you, Salma. Sorry that I interrupted, but we are being notified that we have to close. But let me just give Marco and Germán the opportunity to just close, just with a few sentences on why entrepreneurs should go to your countries to start up businesses there. Marco.
Thank you, Diego. We have legislation, as I told you. We have a framework where the financial system gives you support. We have the National Service for Entrepreneurship that has the promotion, technical assistance, and credit lines for entrepreneurs. As I told you, we have an incipient digital economy where we're promoting also legislation for the promotion of innovative industries. We are creating a special entrepreneurship and acceleration guarantee fund, GEMA, to promote mechanisms and incentives to finance innovative projects as well through loans and capital investments. So we are thinking ahead, and we are happy, and we invite you to come to Honduras. To all guys, you can practically come to Honduras through our website, miempresaenlinea.org, and explore the opportunities that we have here. Very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Germán, you have 30 seconds to close.
So really quick, we have the talent. We have very creative people here. We have a growing economy, a growing ecosystem. We have people who have the willingness to take risks. And we've seen over the past several years, not just in one city, but through our major cities in Medellin, in Barranquilla, in Manizales. We have small, in Cali, entrepreneurial hubs. And we have a strong network of people who are really wanting to take the new technologies and project them towards cross-sector investments, cross-sector ideas. So a lot of very interesting happening in Colombia. So come here.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today in this ministerial roundtable at Campus Party. Very, very fast conclusions. First, Latin America is already connected. Secondly, people are using internet. So we have strong domestic markets. Thirdly, we have new legal frameworks. We have also access to huge markets, as Salma explained, with Mexico and Canada. So, and we have the talent and a lot of incentives from governments. So the place to be in the next decade is Latin America. The future of Latin America is powered by entrepreneurs. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your time today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And please keep being connected today at the Campus Party. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diego.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, Diego. Bye. Salma, Germán.
Bye-bye.